G'day ladies and gents, and welcome back to Microsoft Flight Simulator with Mags, and welcome aboard the TBM 930. It's an absolutely beautiful day for flying, as you can see, the choice of using real weather. Now, we're currently at VNLK, Lukla, which is the closest airfield to Mount Everest, and this is a little bit of a request by you guys. Today, we're going to scout out the big mountain for a possible future landing. But we can talk about that once we are in the air. So first things first, we've got to get into the air, and that's going to be interesting enough on our own.
Victor November Lima Kilo traffic Met Air 069er, taking off runway 24 straight out departure.
Flaps down. And if anybody heard that transmission at the moment, they're probably calling me a crazy bastard, and you know what? They are not wrong. Alright, so flaps set, because we're going to need those. Just letting the RPMs build up. On more power. Release brakes. Just going to try and keep it on the straight. Here we go. Right, come on, come on, come on, lift. Don't. And we're up. Landing gear. Gear is up. Flaps up. Ha! Alright, so we are in the air. I'll be honest, I wasn't entirely sure that was actually going to work in these conditions. So anyways, for those of you looking at the grey here, wondering exactly what the hell we just did, we took off from a runway that is usually used for launching things like bush planes or light aircraft in a turboprop into a valley with zero visibility, where all of the where all of the valley walls are significantly higher than the altitude of the runway, and the altitude of the runway is already at 10,000 feet. So yeah, our only way of navigating is going to be via the Garmin screens here, and that is turbulence coming off the mountains. So I'm just going to follow this valley around on the map. I'm going to try and cross over. There should be another valley on the other side here. And then I can head up and make the turn north, because that's the direction we need to be going in. So anyways, I did check the weather before this flight. For those of you going, we can't see anything. Don't worry, don't worry. The cloud base, or the cloud top, should be at around 16 to 17,000 feet. So we've got a couple of minutes of climbing, and then we should be able to see. But that gives me a couple of minutes to explain why the hell we're doing this in the first place. So, I got a lot of requests after doing Fuji from people wanting me to do Everest. Now, I can't land on the top of Everest. I want to, but I can't. There's a couple of reasons for that. To land on the top of Everest, you're going to need something that is fairly light, that has some pretty robust landing gear, unless you want to cheat. I have no intention of cheating. So I need something that can legitimately land on the top of the mountain, not something where I've got to turn on, gear invulnerability or, bouncing physics or anything along those lines in order to be able to get up there. I want to be able to do this legitimately. The problem is all of the current bush planes that would be ideal for that have a maximum altitude of around 15,000 feet at maximum. The peak of Everest is at 29,300 feet, I think. It's just over 29,000, not at 30,000. To give you a bit of perspective on this, I'm actually starting to whiten up here, so we might be going to break through the clouds here early. We are. Oh, nice. That is pretty, although it's... And there it goes. That's alright. It means the cloud top is around here as we're making our turn, lining up on the second valley. The reason why I'm trying to line up on these valleys too, for those wondering, is because the screens that you're seeing are not represent. They're not using a radar or anything to be able to see us. At least as far as I'm aware, these work on kind of like a mesh that is programmed in on what the terrain should look like. So they're not 100% accurate. So it's best not to take that every mountain is going to be where every mountain says it is. It could be out by a couple of 100 meters, so I'm just trying to make sure I've got clearance until we can actually visually see. But anyways, as I was saying, The aircraft that we've got are limited to about 15,000 feet. We've got to get up to about 29,000 feet. To put it in perspective, the TBM that we're in at the moment, its maximum altitude is about 31,000 feet, so it's only just capable of getting a couple of thousand feet higher than the peak of Everest. Those who have climbed to the top of this mountain and have stood on its highest peak are standing on the ground at the altitude that airliners normally fly at. It's not low to the ground at all. So getting a bit of whitening out the windows here at the moment. But yeah, we don't have an aircraft that can get to that high that has landing gear that is robust enough or is light enough to be able to land at the moment. But this is Microsoft Flight Simulator, new planes will be released. So what we're going to do today instead is at least fly out and check out Everest, because I haven't flown to this mountain before in this particular sim. I've done it in X-Plane, I've done it in Microsoft Flight Simulator 10, but I haven't done it in Flight Simulator 2020. And we're going to check it out. And there we go, we've just broken the clouds. Nice. Just a reminder to everybody too, this is only on medium graphics at this point on my system, because I've only got a 1070 now, because my 1080 Ti died. So this is what it looks like on medium. I cannot wait till I get a 3080. Still seeing a lot of cotton ball out there at the moment. No mountain tops, but yeah. I reckon we'll see the mountains once we break through this giant ball of cotton wool in front of us here at the moment. But yeah, the purpose of today's trip is just to check out Everest and actually have a look at it, and also to see how well it's modelled so I can work out where we can land on it. Would you look at that? God, I love this sim. Everest straight in front at the moment. Now we're approaching it from the southwest. Generally those that climb the mountain climb it from the north, or at least mostly from the north side, as that's the shallowest section of the climb. They've done a decent job of this. I mean, obviously I've never been to Everest before, but I have looked at the photos from the top of the mountain and the surrounding area, and this is pretty much what you see. The mountain ranges around here are nothing short of savage. You wouldn't want to be in a plane and go down here. There's nowhere flat to land on anywhere through these mountain ranges. And there's bugger all people living in them either. And with the snowfalls, that's the turbulence coming off the mountains as we're flying over them. This is one of the things that I really like about Microsoft Flight Simulator. They've done a really good job with the turbulence coming off the mountains and into the storm clouds. I'm just getting a little bit of buffeting here at the moment, and then as we pass over between this valley that's down here and the next ridge line, we'll get bounced again. crossing over to the... We'll pass the south side of the area. Alright, so we've got 3 peaks here. The third one that I'm looking at right now, that's Everest. So, yeah, that is what we're looking at here. And that's the view. Just... wow. This is done really well, actually. Now, I'm not entirely sure of the names of these other 2 peaks. I know I've read them, I have no idea how to pronounce them. The valley that's in between this closest one and Everest itself, if you're going to try and climb the mountain from the south side, they generally come up that valley. So we might be able to swing in here and actually get a really good close pass on these peaks. Actually be able to do a little bit of an altitude check here and see if they got it right, because this peak here should be just short of 28,000 feet tall. 27, that's looking about right. And this big beauty here, this is Everest. And we get turbulence coming off the side of the mountain. Alright, so this is the North Ridge, and you can see already why this is the area that they mostly climb to get up to the top. It's from the Tibetan side. And it's much shallower than the rest of the mountain. That is probably the point if we're actually going to land on this thing. That's the point to actually try and land on it. Interesting, the texture changed as we passed over it too. More green on this side than anything. Right, so that's the Western Ridge. And it's the valley. And this is from the Indian side, where you would be climbing. You come up through that valley, and you have a steeper climb to get up. But apparently it can, in certain times of the year, be easier to climb this way because it is more sheltered. Because you're backed by essentially 3 monster mountains, sort of blocking it up a little. The base of the valley is a glacier too, I think. That is really pretty. But you can see the immediate problem here. We're at 29,800 feet. We're 1,000 feet from hitting this thing's maximum altitude, which is probably why it's rattling and acting like a bit of a bitch at the moment. But, yeah, at this altitude, the air's that thin. What we really need is a turboprop push plane. If I want to get this thing, I want to get to the top of this and land on it, and I do want to land on the peak, we really need a turboprop push plane. Because this thing won't. It's too heavy, it requires too high a landing speed. If I tried to land it on that ridge line, that's about the smoothest point we can land on. If I tried to land there, it'd break the landing gear straight away and it'd be classed as a crash. We'd never get it up the hill. I know this is about as interesting as saying the sky is blue at this point. It's kind of stating the obvious, but this really is the best this area has ever looked at any sim that I've ever flown. A little bit of pop-in on the train I've noticed every now and again as it's changing distances, but I suspect that's probably got more to do with my net connection, because my net connection really is rubbish. But anyways, we are going to start heading our way back to base. Now, I don't think I'm going to go to the same runway. I don't think I'll be able to find it to land on it again. But there is a secondary runway that I did line up that is just out of the mountains and a little bit further south on the Indian side. So we're probably going to fly down there. That's going to take us about probably 30 minutes or 40 minutes. But yeah. I do recommend flying up here. This is beautiful. Can finally see the ground. So mostly rural areas, scattered housing. One decent roadway down there. There we go, now we can actually see properly. Now we should still be about 15 miles out of the runway at this point. But at least now we should be able to see it. Final.
Victor Echo Delta Hotel traffic Med Air 069er is on final runway 10 to land.
And no response to the tower again, which is unsurprising. And I brake turn this thing like an F-18. Just like I always do. Actually, should probably bring it in a little bit more gentle than that. It'll bleed the speed. 36.
Landing gear. Landing gear.
Go, flaps fully deployed. God, they take a while to get out. Very slow. They really slowed us up too. Still a touch high here. Too far to the north as well. Tweak this out. No frame drops, please. Now's not the time for them. Ooh, don't dip.
Stall. Stall.
Little too slow there. A little bit to the left too, but that's fine. Down and nose down. Brake, 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 brake. Alright, so we have arrived at our secondary runway. Yeah, decent sized airfield. Actually, probably put an airliner down here with that too much of an issue. This probably wouldn't be a bad spot if you actually wanted to take something that was a little bit more comfortable over the mountains. Anyways, ladies and gents, hope you enjoyed the flight. Thank you very much for watching. So, we've had a little bit of a look at Everest now. It's beautiful. As I said up there before, I thoroughly recommend you take this flight. I've never done it in this one before. I'm really impressed with what I saw. I have done it in other flight simulators such as X-Plane and obviously Flight Sim 10, back when it was a thing. And this is unquestionably the best looking version of it out there. Yeah. If you're interested in taking a look at Everest, it's pretty interesting and it's modelled pretty well. Landing on it is still going to be a bit of fun. I need essentially a turboprop bush plane with an effective altitude or a maximum altitude of 30,000 feet, and I cannot think of one. Alternatively, I need something that is light enough or has enough wing to be able to land really slow and has robust enough landing gear to land off bitumen. I don't have to worry about crumbling stuff or anything on the top of the mountains because obviously it's a flight sim, so everything's modelled solid. So if I can get something that'll meet those requirements and has about a 30-foot maximum altitude, I should be able to land it and then even roll it up right to the peak and dive it off the side. Just gotta bring it in here for our shutdown and our parking. But yeah, otherwise I'm not entirely sure how to do it otherwise, because 15,000 feet will get me into the valley at the base. It'll get me above the clouds and into the valley at the base, and that's about it. And there we go. Alright, ladies and gents, until next time, remember to click that like button if you did, share and subscribe if you want to see more, and until next time, fly safe and take care.